Hello everyone, so we are students from BMFG21 who would like to present a mini project for subject quality control BMFP2223. So this mini project is based on advanced manufacturing process project, which is about creating a kitchen. So in this project, we are required to develop a quality inspection sheet. So before we go through more, I would like to introduce our group members. Our leader is Ahmad Najmuddeen bin Ismail, and the members are Afuan, Syamer bin Ahmad Sidi, and me, Adrian, Anak, Teni.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Afuan Syamer bin Ahmad Sidi. I'm gonna give some introduction about this report. In this report, we basically need to do an inspection on our product that have been produced through the laser cutting process. An inspection is an activity such as measuring, testing and gauging one or more characteristics of a product and comparing the result with the specific requirement in order to establish whether conformity is achieved for each characteristic. The product that we made is kitchen from the raw material of the galvanized steel sheet. The function of the kitchen is usually used for solve a zipper problem and storage for key. In this presentation, we will go through with the inspection report on our product.
Hi, I'm Ahmad Najmuddeen bin Ismail, and I will talk about manufacturing process flow of the product, which is in this case the keychain. So let us start. Flowcharts are an essential tool to visualize the production or manufacturing process of any product, and in this case the production of the keychain. The flowchart for the keychain production including inspections are shown in the next diagram in the next slide. Firstly, the materials used for the keychain is the galvanized steel sheet, which is represented by the upside down triangle whereby the raw materials enter into the machine. So before the machining process, the galvanized steel sheet must undergo the incoming inspection or quality inspection to ensure all the quality parameters necessary for the products are met. Then the galvanized steel sheet is placed in the laser beam machine and the keychain is cut out from the sheet. That can be represented by the rounded rectangle. After that, the cutout of the keychain is subjected to another quality inspection, which is known as the in-process inspection. Here, the keychain needs to meet the design requirements and surface finish quality needed. Next, the keychain undergoes post-processing or finishing process to achieve the necessary surface finish. And lastly, the keychain is inspected for the last time during the final inspection, whereby if the keychain fits all the required criteria, the keychain can be delivered to the customers. That is all. Thank you.
In this mini project, we have created three types of quality inspection sheet. First one is incoming raw material inspection sheet. The second one is in-process quality inspection sheet. And the third one is final inspection quality sheet. In this incoming raw material quality inspection sheet, there were several questions that need to be filled by the inspector, such as the inspector name, inspection date, and the location of inspection. After that, the inspector must put a photo or an image of the raw material. The criteria in the incoming raw material quality inspection sheet is such as the length, width, diagonal, thickness, rust, scratches, dents, and the last one is the flatness. For each criteria or description, the inspector must fill in the rating. As an example, if the length is following our requirement that we want, the inspector can give 4 or 5 marks. If the thickness did not following the requirement that we want, the inspector can give 1 or 2 marks. If the surface of the raw material has a little bit rust or scratches, the inspector can give maybe around 3 marks. So after filling all the rating for each criteria, the inspector must fill the feedback about the quality inspection. So after done with the feedback, the inspector must ratify either to accept or reject the raw material. And then the last one is the signature of inspector to approve the incoming raw material quality inspection sheet. For the in-process quality inspection sheet, the question is almost the same like in the incoming raw material inspection sheet. The difference is only at the description. So the description in process quality inspection sheet are 2, which are length of product, and the second one is width of product. As an example, if the length of product or the width of the product is following the requirement or the parameter of the design, the inspector can give 5 marks. If it did not follow the requirement or parameter of the design, the inspector can give 1 or 2 marks. Okay, so for the feedback, the inspector must be filled why they gave the rating, and then they must be ratified either to accept or reject the design or the process, and then the signature of inspector must be filled to approve the in-process quality inspection sheet. For the last one is the final inspection quality sheet. So in this sheet, there must have a product name. As an example, our group has created a product about keychain. After that, there must have an image of the final product. For the criteria or description of the final product, is about the burns, burrs, and last one is sharp edges. For each criteria or the description, we have put an indicator at the image of the final product. As an example, if there were sharp edges, the indicator is red circle. If there were burrs, the indicator is blue circle. And after that, the inspector must fill the ratings, the feedback, and ratify to either to accept or reject the final product. And the last one, as usual, the inspector must approve the final inspection quality sheet by giving their sign at the signature of inspector.
Hello there, I'm Ahmad Najmuddeen, and let us talk about justification of quality characteristics. In the incoming inspection sheet, the material used is galvanized steel sheet, whereby the dimensional accuracy in terms of length, width, diagonal, and thickness are to be taken into account. For length, width, and diagonal, it must be checked so that the laser beam cutting machine does not need to be reset with new parameters. If we need to do this constantly, it wastes time, slows production, and lose money, i.e. the company loses money. For thickness, if the thickness of the steel sheet is too thick, the laser beam cutting machine might produce tapered, unfinished, or unclean cuts called burrs during the cutting process. We continue with surface appearances, whereby we focus on the rust, scratches, and dents. Rust meaning that any form of rust or any form of rusting in any surface of the steel sheet will cause the whole sheet to be subjected to oxidization. When this happens, the keychain will be rejected by the customer and they return it immediately back to the company. This will cause the company's reputation to be marred and losses to be incurred. For dents or bad surface uniformity, it needs to be undergo extra post-processing, whereby this action wastes time, reduces productivity of the plant, and causes losses for the company. Scratches, meanwhile, are not aesthetically pleasing and they need a lot of post-processing, as this extra amount of work costs a lot of time, slows down production, and causes the company to lose money, and at the same time the company's reputation may be jeopardized. These are examples of rust, scratches, and dents. whereby if it's too critical, we will reject the material supplied by the customer. And then we continue with flatness, the last one. Flatness here means that an uneven steel sheet waviness on its surface cannot be used for the laser beam cutting process, as this process requires an even surface to work on. If an uneven sheet is used, the laser beam cutting machine may produce tapered cuts or produce keychains that does not meet the dimensional requirements of the design. Hence, if keychains produced outside of acceptable tolerances are found, it will be rejected by the customer and causes losses for the company. Let's start off with the in-process inspection sheet here. Width and length of the specific limits given by the customer is 50 millimeters by 100 millimeters. Our product design is with the length of 93 millimeters and width of 45 millimeters and have a tolerance of 0.5 millimeters. The product measurement must not exceed or be less than the actual measurement specification. If this exceeds the limits, the customers may return the keychain back to the company, as the product they received was a defect, and this will not only cause losses to be incurred by the company, but also the company's reputation will be ruined. And last but not least, the final inspection sheet. We will focus on three aspects, that is sharp edges, burrs and burns. Sharp edges must be machined off during post-processing, or in other words, the sharp edges are rounded off. This is because if sharp edges are present on the keychain, it can get stuck on the customer clothing, thus ripping them or damaging them. When this happens, the customer will not be very pleased with the product and they will return it, and again tarnishes the company's image and causes losses for the company. For burrs, meanwhile, for burrs means that the formation of rough edges or ridges on the metal piece. This causes the surface finish or cut finish of the keychain to be uneven or rough to touch. It is undesirable, as the rough feeling of the burrs will cause the customer to dislike the product. They potentially will reject the keychain that have burrs, and again causes losses to be incurred by the company. Lastly, we focus on burns. Burns, which are blackened colored surfaces on products that have been subjected to any heat during machining. This happens when the power setting of the laser beam exceeds the necessary amount. Hence, to mitigate this, the operator needs to ensure that the power setting of the laser beam cutting machine is at an optimum level. This is because if burns are present, they are not aesthetically pleasant for the customer, and if they are present, they will probably reject the product and return it back to the company. Hence, the company will incur losses and that reputation will be damaged. On the next slide, these are examples of our sharp edges in our design that needs to be rounded off. The burns that is present on the letter P, and the burrs whereby you can see on the cut edges, on the edges there's like a lip or uneven surface is present on it. That is all from me. Thank you.
As conclusion, the inspection sheet helps in maintaining the quality and compliance of product. Besides, it can detect the weakness of product. As an example, we can detect either the parameters is following or not following the requirement that we want. Besides, it also can help to detect the surface appearance of the final product, either there were any burrs or any sharp edges. So, by this inspection sheet, we can do analysis to improve the product quality. So, we hope we can help or we can use this inspection sheet as a priority in manufacturing of product.